What is a poet laureate, you might ask? Well, it's an honor bestowed by a government, institution, or community group. The laureate is recognized and will be a public face and an activist for poetry in their locale and beyond. Laureateship recognizes the appointee's literary accomplishment and/or potential. In the past, some laureates have even worn a laurel crown. The first poet laureate may have been Albertino Mussato, crowned in Italy in 1315. In Britain, there has been a poet laureate every year since the appointment of John Dryden in 1668. There are and have been hundreds of poets laureate all over the world, in countries from Ethiopia to Serbia, in the city of Edinburgh, on the island of St. Lucia, in states from Andhra Pradesh in India to Arizona in the US, and in Canada in at least 40 communities, including, to name just a few, Edmonton, Kingston, Tofino, St. John's in Newfoundland, and in the Yukon. I understand the honor and the role as I was Banff Poet Laureate a few years ago, a challenge as it was partly during COVID. We remember those days. Canada has a poet laureate appointed by Parliament. Currently, it is Chimemwe Undi, based on Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg. So tonight, we have our own British Columbia Poets Laureate, Janet Kvammen, Neil Serkin, Ellie Kralji Gardner, and PEP's own Kieran Regier. Each will read for about 15 minutes, 2 before the break, and then 2 afterward. First up is Janet Kvammen, Poet Laureate for the City of New Westminster. Janet is a poet and a mixed media artist with a passion for the abstract. She is the Vice President of New West Artists and President and founding board member of the Royal City Literary Arts Society. She's been a host and coordinator of local reading events and artist exhibits, and I understand did amazing work down in Vancouver's East Side. Janet has won awards for her poetry, receiving a 2016 Nehru Humanitarian Award, and in 2012, the Writers International Network Distinguished Poet and Artist Award. She's written that every moment can be a unique opportunity to live an artful life. Please welcome Janet Kvammen.
Thank you so much. I think I'm just going to move this down just a little bit. Like this. How's that better? You can hear me? Thank you so much, Stephen. And oh my goodness, I can't believe how many people are here. It's such a delight and an honor to be here in this space where so many amazing poets have stood and shared their poetry. I'm just so delighted. Thank you so much for the invite, and to Karen and everyone with Planet Earth Poetry. Thank you so much for the team and everyone who's been involved with it for many, many years. 30 years, in fact. How amazing is that? So I'd like to start off, well, I'd like to share a couple of glosa form poems, starting with one written in response to Yvonne Blomers, who has a history here with, I don't know if was she one of the founders of, no? The second, okay. Third, okay. But she has a long history with Planet Earth Poetry. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know. But she has a long history with you. So I thought it would be interesting, a great place to share. So the poem is entitled A Quiet Reclamation, but I've written it after Yvonne's poem called After the Eye of the Butterfly from her book, The Last Show on Earth, a poem that Yvonne wrote after P.K. Page's poem in response to Albino Pheasants by Patrick Lane. So I'm trying to keep the chain going here, and perhaps someone will write a glosa for my glosa. There's a challenge for everyone. So this is, okay, the 4-line epigraph is, that was a lot of preamble. I don't usually do that. The 4-line epigraph is, here we've stepped too close to the wild, pressed our thumb to the scaled wing, flattened everything, swallowed the moon, and in all of it, poetry persists. Your songs run rampant in this suddenly sober world. Yvonne Blomer, After the Eye, the Butterfly. A quiet reclamation. Can you actually hear it, the murmur of prolonged silence? A dusky emerald beating its winged pulse in dreamy wander, drawn to the light between Leonard's cracks, a resurrection, that iridescent flutter of your heart, a ghost in my chest. For a moment, all is quiet in me again. We color outside your lines, your words etched ever deep. All fine elements for a sturdy nest. Here we've stepped too close to the wild, pressed the glossy blossoms we have gathered from within your verses. Brittled, weary, and yellowed by age, a melancholic refrain. The last show on earth keeps us on the page, reminding us that it could be all gone too soon, that the world keeps spinning around and yet nothing and everything is eternal. Creation, a brief stirring of newness, brightens shadows, that precious, fragile wonder, life bringing. Our thumb to the scaled wing flattened everything, flooded the barren riverbeds with gold and birthed rocky mountains. Our tears dried by a sailish breeze. We linger and shift when change will not manifest. They say no gesture goes unnoticed, none too small to make an impression. I imagine a blank white incantation where color longs to exist, a waning void, hauntingly beautiful. That last sky, a fractal abstraction, where the myth of night belongs, swallowed the moon, and in all of it, poetry persists, your songs becoming new constellations, jeweling the surface. An arbor of pink diamonds sparkle, Hecate's wheel a raging bright fire above, sparks fly, a climatic storm of unmade wishes. Our faith burned like a candle at both ends. The edges of spring unfurled. Your poetic call and response, vastly alive beneath the thicket of stars. The caress of the Beltane, waxing crescent moon, raven pearled, run rampant in this suddenly silver world. And one more glossa. I never know if it's glossa or glossa. Does anyone know? It's from a chapter called Fire from the Heart. The 4-line epigraph are PK Page. PK Page is Victoria, famous poet, so I thought it would be a good place to share. From her poem, Evening Dance of the Gray Flies. Gray with illness and with age, a silver point against the pillow's white, shone suddenly like the sun before you died. This poem is dedicated to my mom. A morning, Obad. Before you died, I didn't notice their flight or see their shimmering blue pale against the golden amber dawn. In the end, did you see them too? Fleeting dancers alight on a sky of gilded cage. Their iridescence captures the eye, and we're not alone. It was October then, its face faded by grief and rage, gray with illness and with age. And now, years of yesterdays suddenly triggered. PTSD shudders, flashback horror, a blood-splattered sink, radioactive days, and sleepless voids, counting your breath while holding mine, words whispered to the dead. Making it through another night, the cold house burrowed deep into bone. We must turn another page, winter's coming light, a silver point against the pillow's white. Still, we have the happy years and the lost years. That last summer when you came back for a little while, laughing in the weeds. We planted seeds of a trip that we both knew would never come before the cancer spread and madness came undone, fluttering as wings, a thunder in the chest. That way you called me sweetheart at the end. All my hopes outrun, shone suddenly like the sun. As once I was a small child, safe on my mother's lap, but I was 34, exactly half your age. A lifetime passed in that golden hour, and a week later you were gone. The gospel of Elvis played at your bedside. You send dragonflies to remind me of the things I need to believe, white and blank as pain. Even the stars cried before you died. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mom. I felt like she was with me tonight, so I wanted to share that. It's not an easy poem to read, but I felt this is a nice safe space to share. So, how about a couple of New West poems? New Westminster, New West represent, right? Postcard from Columbia Street. I leave small traces that we were here, crumbles of scattered time, dappled spring light, captured within treasured heritage buildings. Breath held, I try to blend in, walk between what is old and what is new, red brick and quicksilver slick. Together, a collaboration, a community. In daily pilgrimage, I meander this right of way, shadow the Fraser, seek higher ground, circle downtown streets. New Westminster, a territory not our own. We hold on to something more, a reflection of place in a city of dreams. I can only see through my eyes. I want to see what others see and to remember. Crows and gulls overhead Columbia Street in competition for the small cluster of unconstructed sky. The diminished Golden Mile awaits resurrection. Our grandparents, parents, long gone. Maybe someone will recall us when we are gone. Sidewalks ghosted where once they walked, an evanescent glimmer on stone. And walking around Victoria today, I was thinking this sort of reminds me of Victoria a little bit. There's a lot of change here. I haven't been here for a few years, so I've really noticed the difference. But the heritage buildings are still here. Thankful for that. The US is losing some of ours, so. Urban wildlife. Constructed imaginings bred of intersecting landscapes. An ornithological study of metropolitan wildlife. This fast-moving flock, a migratory mirage, lost in flight. Multi-hued city cranes rise from gritty river mist, hurling themselves into the metallic skyline. This 2001 monolithic primordial god in a muted black and white War of the Worlds revival. A slow invasion of the Carnarvon Street cavern, downtown's urban ridge, a shifting shadowland. And I'm losing my beloved Patella Bridge. Yeah, I've done a huge series of artwork for the Patella Bridge. I don't know. Does anyone know New West, the Patella Bridge connecting in Surrey, right? So this is one of my pictures in here. So I'll end with that. Bridging the gap. The Batella rests its case, pleading guilty to a life sentence of concrete evidence. A trick of light swoops above it all, this phantom place. The bridge as a body. The bridge as a body. A missing link between the past and the present. Windows without eyes, rusty limbs ever reaching. A steel spanway. Architectural connector. Built neither of flesh nor of bone. The bold NW envisioned in the artist's strokes, her dreamscape, woven into ether, this ghost space, where soon only memory will remain. I think that's a good time to end here. And I hope your memory of me remains here just a little bit. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Janet. Yeah, we travel with these poets to their places. Neil Serkin, Poet Laureate of Nanaimo, is the author of 2 full-length poetry collections. Unbecoming was a finalist for the City of Calgary's W.O. Mitchell Award, and On High, another poetry collection, and chapbooks, including, and I meant to ask you, is it Die Workbook or is it German? Die Workbook. Die Workbook, all right, Die Workbook. They're Queer Tenderness and Supernatural. A new collection, Empties, is forthcoming in 2026 from McGill Queen's University Press. Neil is a professor in the Department of English at Vancouver Island University. Here comes Neil Serkin.
Okay, some grating sounds. Ready? Oh, sorry. What do you think of that? Can you hear me okay?
No.
No, okay. Closer. Okay, contact. Nice to meet y'all if we haven't met before. My name's Neil. I'm grateful to be here and in this specific context. So I want to say first and foremost that I get to be the Poet Laureate on unceded Snuneymuxw land. And so thinking about those relations, those histories and contexts is really core to the work. Also core to the work is inviting my neighbors and my community to consider the place, not so much of the poem in their lives, but the opportunities that they may find in their day-to-day commotion to be attentive about their language and to kind of begin from there. And so most of this time as laureate has been spent offering those opportunities. However, this time, for the first time really, I'm going to present a series of poems that are going to be projected in a space, like a part of town that is kind of being redone or kind of renovated. So, and they're going to be shone down, I believe, on the ground as 5 panels of light. So they're like, what do you want to put in those? And I was like, oh no. So, especially because of this idea of encountering a poem just as you like stomp on it or just pass by. So here's that poem. Here's how it came out. I'm really interested in right now, like in new work, thinking about like the space of victimhood alongside like the idea of the sliver. So that's what these are, which is kind of maybe a strange idea to project on the ground, but there we go. Caution, these plots are full of slivers. Those words that home under our skin and make us work them out, or work out whether we should work them out before they slither further in, and we can't tell where they begin and we begin. Here's the second panel. Basic, sweet, chill, kind, weird, broy, hot, solid, safe, stern, nice, intense, strange, pretty, fit. The more I wait, the more it will take for me to change my mind. Then there'll be a mark where it took part of me away, a sliver of the sliver's absence. Hunched and picking out the alphabet, cursed to cured to read. This is the fifth one. I worked this sliver out, and now there's less of me, but more room for whom I choose to be. Okay, so my forthcoming collection, Empties, starts with an epigraph from Henri Cole. Where there is danger, there also grows something to save us. This is one of the last poems. Well, 1. As suddenly I felt my shoes grown heavy with field water before I noticed the slough wrinkling behind a blind of dead cattails, heads busted, spewing, having pulled off Parsons Road to piss, the pasture tender as walking up a lover's back, all that elsewhere seeping in between the soil, the stones. So the purr whistling of red-winged blackbirds on the scraping stems, furnace mouths blazing their ruffling shoulders, welled in me, and I grew lighter and lighter. 2. Driving barefoot now, clumsy on the pedals, I call to tell a bedtime story to E. How this valley brimmed with ice, but these days spadefoot toads like our hero, Mike. The line grown quiet as groundwater. My voice, a distant slough, seeping through E's body till his breathing slows, idling. Drifting easy round the corners, I open windows to the sting of wildfire smoke. How quickly memory becomes it, with sudden wellings ever after. Chamber for the house that held the hearth, for the quaver in my grandmother's singing. So included in this forthcoming collection are some poems from a chapbook I had come out with, Night Fork book. I got actually 2023. So it was my second chapbook I got to do with Kirby. And I really admire them. They've kind of, I don't know, brought me into being in some ways. Yeah, with gratitude. So this is Ruin. It's kind of going to be scattered through Empties. But Ruin has its own epigraph, which is from Carl Phillips. To turn away from what's familiar, for example, toward what isn't, defines hope well enough, but can define to despair. Reflection. I've come to the mirror and seen myself for the first time in years, not as I fear others judge me mid-chore or with love, but as a creature who peers frankly, knowing neither shame nor the threat of heaven. Ruin. A slanted shadow through the unshuttered window of a slump-raftered barn we'd drive past on Sundays, late for skiing on the mountain's scars, was all I needed to start believing a bull lived there, boxed in and brooding on the ring bored through his face, and on his horns pruned off plateaus with the dormant violence of a volcano whose craters capped with campsites, a gazebo. Queer, I learned to inspirit broken places. Wanting grace so badly for myself, I filled every opening. empties. And who isn't my neighbor now? We alley bottles mouthing, ooh, when gusts growl, empties blown into a chorus, wind, song, what difference if air grazes or emits from our lips? Aren't all voices lifted, stolen? Have we not all awoken, tossed in drifts or on unshrinking mountains of rink snow? Stranger, kin, as this weather draws us together by drawing our low moans, be just, be unjust, just be drawn, lest we both. Limits. I show my son how to brush an anemone so it sucks its tentacles back, a firework in reverse. Soon he's poked shut every polyp glued to the rock pool's rim like a bad therapist. We wait. Gradually, they reemerge, fig green and scar pink feelers, the way hope can't be helped. Shy, then ravenous. One pool over, a girl his age flings whatever she can catch into the air. Crabs, a sculpin, dash upon the stones and quiver. I explain there are limits to what I can save, what's proper. He yells, stop. Brackish. Yes, it is both river and sea. Yes, they mingle together here. Yes, one empties for the other. Yes, it tastes like tears. Okay, here's one more poem from Empties, and then I want to read you a short little new poem, just for the spectacular risk of it. Right? So, I'm going to read it. Okay, so there's a line in this poem that is a description of what the graffiti on a giant boulder says. So it's always kind of hard to figure out how to read that line in the room, like, you know, to make it, that's what it is. Hopefully you'll get it. We'll see. Time to apologize to your mother, you realize, driving past the scree outside Karamias. Those vestiges of the mountains coming out. No, down. The shale's clustered beaks bagging among wild rye and tumbleweeds. Invasive, prone to making everywhere their home, like shame. The slide faces look tear-streaked even when you aren't projecting. And in a pullout, tucked below a palimpsestic boulder, R.I.P. MIT, F you, Tom, you. A foot-long homemade sign reads, no stopping at any time. She interrupts you before you can choke forth the sorries corked below your throat because you seem to have forgotten she's your mom. Glance up from your toes, clawing the aggregate patio. When did her hair turn silver? Survivor of the death of her own mother, harborer of her own longings, her own secrets. Have you ever really looked into her eyes? No stopping, the kettle screeches at any time. But when you finally go inside and lift it from the fire, it's empty. Thanks again for having me. Such a treat to be here with you, and always enlivening just to hear other writers' words. Kieran, thanks as ever for inviting me to things, and I'm grateful to be here with you. Stephen, thanks for the introduction and for hosting the most undersung job. And so we sing you. Yeah, thank you. And thanks to all of you for listening. Truly. Can't wait to hear your poems. It was such a marvel to hear your poems. It's just like, yeah, what a treat. This is a poem set in Powell River, where I've only been one time, for a brief time, heading to Savory Island, which I would recommend, actually. I was amazed. It's called Frame. Powell River. Frame. I didn't have time to visit Reef Point, only learned it exists from a bus stop sign near the house advertising frame for sale on a skinless canoe strung between two trees. Through the ferry queue's silky air, I watched the bus traverse Marine without stopping, full, I assumed, or suffering from engine trouble. I think you would have liked that line, now that I've finally aimed this frame for your point, taking on so much water it won't be long. That's everything.
On the theme of money, you may have heard about drastic declines in arts funding in Canada and many other places, and that many long-running series in Canada, reading series that is, have vanished. Planet Earth Poetry has served the writing and publishing community for 30 years, and we don't want to disappear. So we've launched an ambitious anniversary fundraising campaign called 30 for 30. It's on the GoFundMe website, and you can Google it there. When I last checked, we were just over $50 short of $10,000 raised, which is incredible. People have been astonishing in their contributions. And that site will stay live at least until January 30th. But why not go home tonight and drop a little cash through your computer window? You may also donate through our Canada Helps page, and you can find the details about that on the PEP website. You can also find information on that in our newsletters. You can just pass, Callie, you can just pass that. People will pass that. You can, let it roll. Thank you. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So the donation basket, I'm sorry that we keep asking for your hard-earned money, but it's a reality we seem to have to bear right now. So whatever you can contribute, $20 cost of a night at the cinema, or $5 or a toonie or whatever. And if you're unable to contribute, great. We're so happy you're here. Poetry needs an audience, and you're here to help us with that and celebrate poetry. So onward to our Poets Laureate. Kieran Regier, the 7th Poet Laureate of Victoria, is the author of Cult Life, a finalist for Relit Awards and the Victoria Butler Book Prize. She's also written Disassembling a Dancer, a winner of the Raven Chapbook Award. Her poetry has been published in Canada and internationally, and has been thrice longlisted for the CBC Poetry Awards. Kieran is co-editing with Zoe Dickinson, This Life. After, what's that? I don't know where that came from. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, after Poems in Dialogue, forthcoming from Caitlin Press. And she's the artistic director of this very reading series, Planet Earth Poetry. And since she has nothing else to do, she also hosts the Poet Laureate podcast. Please welcome Kieran Regier.
Thank you, Stephen. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to just struggle with this microphone for a moment.
You want help or you got it?
Yeah, I think I got it. Is that good? Yeah. Gosh, it's odd to be here as a reader. Wow. I feel very honored to read with these three poets. Thank you so much for joining me. And wow, that's amazing. Amazing art of poetry. And thank you. Yeah, you're all here to support poets who uplift poetry as a role. So thank you. Thank you. This is not staying where it should be. There we go. No. Okay, I'm going to read you 4 poems tonight, and I'm really nervous because these are all new pieces, and one of them I've been working on for 10 years. So I'm going to read you feminist art, God, ghosts, and a rocket launch. Okay. The first one was shortlisted for the Fiddlehead's last poetry prize. Okay, this is called The Statuary. In this poem, I present myself as a statue of a woman chiseled in bas relief from a sandstone bluff. The woman holds an octopus, its arms swept sideways with her wind-lashed hair, locks and tentacles kiting the wild air, but there is no wind, only the record of a storm that tunneled between her lips, whittling her mouth into the high O of an ever-extinguished aria. Bleached and acid-etched with seawater, I am next a statue of a woman washed ashore, an object built from coral and fish bones, reclined upon tangled kelp, one leg restlessly flung, each toenail pearled in abalone light. Put an ear to her conch and catch the ocean slapping the shells of her thighs. I am a hand-built terracotta woman, sun-warmed and saddle-hipped, filling the arch of a doorway, waiting for a light to tongue a path across the lake, a statue of a woman walking on water when no one is there to see it. And now I am a bronze of a woman wearing only an apron, offering a dish of burnished water to a soapstone replica who washes her face, scrubbing and scrubbing, yet never shining. Built from lace and plaster, I am a woman carrying a beehive, hands stitched with embroidered bees, arms swarmed with veined vellum wings, a woman who accepts the pain of 1,000 stings and yet fails to lift fingertip from spindle. I am an alabaster woman working a loom, her world reflected in a sheet of polished silver, its surface angled to capture life passing beneath her window. A woman weaving, her windows rapidly shifting seasons, wild blue flax bursting into gilded seed heads, threads warping deliriously from her many-armed torso. I am a dozen straw-stuffed effigies of women, hand harvesting a field, baskets strapped to backs. I am a tableau of 100 papier-mâché women sewing whalebone into corsets, rolling wartime cigarettes, inhaling, light bulbs swinging above their heads, blowing smoke from nostrils armored in factories casting munitions, securing fake jewels into rolled gold settings, operating switchboards or taking dictation, typing reams of letters, sheets flying from laundry lines, ding-dong, lips and lashes, selling door-to-door, serving dinner in diners, baking pies left on windowsills, hiding in the bathroom, slipping into sisters' lingerie, shaving and tucking and hipping bravely into the world as a new woman. I'm a stained-glassed palisade of women, faces lined like timepieces, arms circling, eternally, eternally. I'm a woman carved, critiquing her marble skin in a mirror, marble fluent in every shade, the mirror held by another marble woman, who in turn stares skeptically into a screen clutched in the hand of, face displayed in another device, held in the hand of, in each reflection the same pupils, onyx, pinholes, casting inverted figures, upside-down icons, silhouettes scrolling past retina walls, filtered statues of something like life. Okay, this is the one I'm nervous about because it's about God. Okay, what other word carries so many connotations and everybody has an internal reaction to the word? Anyone who's read Cult Life will understand I hold a rather Eastern interpretation, being that divine exists in everything and everyone, most easily seen in nature and in our connection to each other. So this is a poem that attempts to explore meaning and reinvigorating that word. And yet I've been working on it for, I think it's been longer than 10 years, actually. I think it's been about 13 years. And I reference the the NASA recording of our sun's sound as it rotates in space. You can actually hearing the recordings of the planets turning in space on YouTube. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Okay, reconnotating the word God. I watch a butterfly sucking nectar through its retractable fringed straw and think, God. God as curling butterfly tongue, or as tardigrade dormant in space, as a mushroom's sporing gills, as the lace of fallopian fimbriae, as the courtship choreography of paradise birds. God as the sugar-stirred air of spring, nitrogenized thunderstorm wind. Everything is holy, or else illusion. God as interface, perfection displayed upon perfection, a reaching through dawn's veil as words reveal themselves to the knower of words. Dawn to begin to appear, to begin to become visible in consequence of more light shining upon. To waver where light and dark balance then tip, to feel the body tremble within the spreading flame, to feel holy fire, the passion, the gorgeous torture, the perfect hunger. And if, like me, you've been thumb-screwed with longing, seam-ripped by the sacred madness of sadhus, saints, and martyrs, then I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, not a fallen garden, bearded patriarch in the sky, not Shangri-La with a secret key. Collapse the time it takes to see a gap between you and me, that close. Press a finger to the lotus of this heart, right here. I hear NASA's sonification of the sun's wraith-like sitar aria and think, God. Behind these eyes, who is that quiet listener, that augury of stillness on the throne between the brows? Try this with me now. Offer your attention to space, from the leeway between us to that great expanse hung with stars, space shaped by boundaries invented, space filled with objects here and far, objects arriving, departing, and yet leaving space wholly unchanged, formless and boundless. Place your attention on the mind hung with thoughts, thoughts arriving, departing, thoughts on carousel, and yet leaving the space of the mind wholly unchanged, formless and boundless. What holds this ode as it enters the world, the mind or space? Mirabai said, Dark One, I have waited. It's time to take my songs into the street. Strip me of this voice, and what remains behind the tune of my thoughts, changing and unchanged? Spreading within the song of any sunrise, within the bell of the rib cage, what is that phraseless melody? Nada Brahman, God as symphony, violins unpicking this knot in the chest, God as the vibrating bowl, as the brightest skull shining call, as the cavity of mouth, 10,000 years of lording, temple, grotto, desert, woods, as frequency and amplitude, as rhythm and rhyme, as the light, as the word, as the trembling wound of time. Okay. Thank you, Neil. I wouldn't have read it if it wasn't for Neil. It's like, no, don't back out now. Don't second guess yourself. Okay, what you need to know about this poem, the cunning is a Celtic reference for the second sight, and memento mori is Latin for remember you must die. And when Steve was talking about the afterlife by accident, he was just referencing this poem. A haunting. The month after she moves in, lined up at her gate, the dead. In the Celtic tradition, such a thing as spirit lines, pathways trodden by the dead, the trails to sacred sites, wartime thoroughfares, loops through wreckage. Here, the dead amble between two graveyards, her house en route. Her Scots aunt once said she saw the dead dance around a standing stone, vibrations in the air, candled from within. They roam like All Hallows Eve projections on the side of a house. The dead scare the bejesus out of her. Once seen, she cannot unsee the lost and looted eyes of the dead. Startled pinprick pupils or cobwebbed wellheads echoing, hello, hello, hello. The dead appear to multiply. They're dreadful gossips. Word has spread. Do they flock because they sense she sees them, or do the dead follow after the dead? Her aunt would put the blessing at her, lustrate her with water from a March stream crossed by both the living and the dead. But her aunt is dead and the cunning 6 foot under. Yet something has claimed her and tenders the dead. At her gate, most wait politely, not knowing they're dead. Some stray into her daisies, the garden remaining untrampled. Others venture inside, and she must call upon those with the skills to help the dead realize they're dead. She understands this is not unremarkable, that she might be treading the edges of her mental mortal coil. 2 months spent passing the dead over and into the intangible arms of former loved ones. Many nights spent cowed in sheets, the dead wandering her bedroom, perhaps mistaking her for a tunnel entrance, a doorway. She zombies her halls in a shroud of silence. Who would believe her? Memento mori, memento mori. How can she not entertain thoughts of madness? Her lawn is the field where the dead lie dreaming. Nightly, through her window, the queue vacillates with the moon, the dead preferring to gather beneath a waxing light. On new moon, the dead softly illuminate her street like glow sticks fading after a parade, a disappointed, phosphorescent drooping. Except when their way is lit and they quickly swell, thread-like in all directions, glassy or fiber optic, then scatter through the veil like tossed salt. And this final poem is about the death of my mother. But for 3/4 of the poem, you might wonder what the heck a NASA rocket launch has to do with my mother's death. I assure you it will become clear. And this is after Robert Hass's poem, Variations on a Passage in Edward Abbey, in case you know it. Stage separation. The launch begins in silence, a silence sliced with systems check, telemetry streams, and the keening breath of fuel lines cooling to cryogenic lows. Beneath the tower, engines doze until ignition sequence dawns. At T-10, valves speak, rocket fuel feeds, liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, consecrated kerosene. Turbo pumps reeling at revelatory speed, squeezed to hold flame in the tomb of vacuum. When engines bloom, they drown out speech, tremble teeth, force soars, umbilicals unmoor, and then a shuddering release into sky. Slowly at first, piercing gravity, trailing fire, ice, vapor, thrust, ratchets, vibration passes into frequency, the cables, the capsule tremors against maximum aerodynamic stress, a death-shuddering din as atmosphere tries to claw it back, then it orphans into stage separation. Spent boosters, unyoke, trailing smoke like dropped torches.
and fire leaves behind the metal that bore it. Higher now in the thinning blue, secondary ignition earns, that's URNS, earns the ascent into the black lament of orbital insertion, then engine's casket, and the comet of roaring heat becomes silence. Hushed, adrift in the weightless dark, in the uncanny suspension of microgravity. The earth curves beneath, a blue so complete, no longer sky but singular mass, round and receding. The moment I realized you had passed was not when they told me, but later, when everything became unthinkably still, and I watched the whole of you falling away beneath me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kieran. A treat to give you the microphone for different reasons tonight. Yeah, so thank you. Next up is Ellie Crouchy Gardner, Poet Laureate of Vancouver, author of the poetry collections Trauma Head, which was a Cogswell Award winner, as well as Serpentine Loop, and forthcoming in 2026, Sometimes Forest. And notable is her book B6A, Writing from Vancouver's Downtown East Side. A frequent collaborator with choreographers, sound and visual artists, Ellie also directs the Vancouver Manuscript Intensive. Her reading tonight is sponsored by the Writers' Union of Canada. Please welcome Ellie Crouchy Gardner.
Hey everyone. Hello to my mom and my sister watching in Boston. It is so great to see this audience chock full of impressive and dear poets. I see you. I'm so glad you're here. So I am the Poet Laureate of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh lands that we call Vancouver. And my laureateship has just finished 1 year, and I've got 2 more ahead of me. And during these 3 years, I've been thinking about sound, and I've been thinking about ways that we can attune to the land, attune to each other, think about maybe listening more than we speak, which is ironic because I'm here speaking at the microphone. But it is something that I am considering not only in my written work and my sound work. I have a project turning Trauma Head into a sonic album that will be released on vinyl. And that's going to be an interesting prospect, but that's forthcoming. I wanted to say thank you so much to Kieran, who jumped at the email that I sent saying, "You're also a Poet Laureate. Can we talk? Can we compare notes?" And I know Janet from her beautiful hosting of so many events in New West. And Neil, it was great to hear your poems for the first time. And I'm so excited that we get to repeat this event in January on the 13th. Or the 21st in Vancouver, thanks to Twisted Poets for reuniting us. Thank you for your excellent hosting tonight. I don't take it lightly. It's impressive. Okay, this morning I woke up dazzled by the sunlight here and also by the news that my new book has a cover. I'm a little bit like flushed and excited about that, so I thought I would just ask if you would join me in welcoming maybe 2 little poems from that before I read something else. Before we get into that, how's everybody's energy? This? Okay. You know raccoons. You know raccoons in many different languages, like in Danish, are called washing bears. And there's a reason they're called a washing bear. And that's because they do this when they're about to eat their food. And they do this not to clean it, but they do it the water makes their food and their hands more sensitive. And so they can enjoy the taste, and the manipulation of the food. So if you'll all join me for a minute and listen to the sound. Listen to each other. Play with how fast or how hard you do this. Feel your hands getting maybe sticky or hot. And when you're ready, cover your ears. And now do it again. And you may need to take your glasses off. It's like we're a room full of crickets. And when you're ready, cover your eyes. Accompany. A lift from the screen, diagonal glow, searchlight in unlit house. Hello. Your leafy cursor calling to open window. In flows cold perfume, riverine green. In midnight, lapping at the damp dish, someone trips the light and washes stairs in gold. Oh, it is me, thicket of impulse. Cans roll in dusk wind, so raising lazy, aflame I go and gild the window in wild movement. My animals pull organs from each other, lick and laminate, but so docile and dearly they behave indoors. I, a carcass eater, crouch in midnight, spend myself panting nimbus on the porch. Under sky scoured of yesterday, abrasion, dawn, plasma, tawny. Come morning, an amnesia step over strings of viscera, asking guiltlessly, raccoon or coyote? When I woke up this morning and the sun was so bright and it was dazzling and it was hitting off the water, I was so happy to be here with all of you heading towards this event, thinking about community and thinking about why it's important for us to be spending Friday night together doing this. It's quite radical. Part of my practice through COVID was reaching out to poets that I didn't know very well and beginning to form relationships or writing partnerships with them. And one of those people is Gary Barwin, who lives in Hamilton, Ontario. And he and I haven't spent much time together, but we've written a manuscript called Take Rain. And I'll read a few poems from Chroma. It's a small excerpt that we have here in a chapbook from Pinhole Books, Pinhole Poetry. Janet, thank you. And Chroma is a funny, or Take Rain is a funny project. We co-wrote these poems in a way that it's neither Gary's voice nor mine, but it's some third voice that is working through a set of 3 words that sort of cycle through a poem and become another set of 3 words that cycle. Jorge Luis Borges, who's like my best friend forever and my writing mentor, even though he's been long dead, he said, being with you and not being with you is the only way I have to measure time. Chronographic aphorisms. When I was a child, my home was a clock. Now that I am old, it is my child that is a clock. In between visits, I live in the color of your ribs, blue as owl shadow. Yesterday, I used a mirror to catch bone-colored twilight. Every campaign of hands, a parade of hours and dog shadows. In the River Museum, only memory remains. Only others' shadows are the color of time. Every silent minute begins and ends with your shape poured across the map of afternoon, long as language's golden hours. I set a place for you in air, thinking of flight, but in my edge of day mind, you are only gold as gold, never sky or robin's egg. Though I catch the sun's rays on my tongue, I cannot stop thinking of how you are a calendar with your distance held in jars. Tonight, I comb the remains of morning, gold as owls. Anyone can imagine color, only blue imagines time. Riven Museum. Days collapse in snowfall blue as sleep. Rebellion teaches the clock. At the center of the icicle, an hour by another name. Later is a door warm at the hinge. Yesterday is its own mirror, gold as gold. Rivers become a map unfurled under afternoon sun. A clock, a shortcut as the crow flies. Our faces refracted by meltwater, dusk times grief, or distance plus dawn. Antonio Machado is a favorite poet of mine, and he wrote, "The eye you see is not an eye because you see it. It is an eye because it sees you." Mm-hmm. So this is called The Eye You See. Something about rain runs like the rim of sugar around the glass of my eye. History raises a hand for help. A handful of birds in a bath of milk. Hope, a century wide, a squinty poison. The distance of my own looking, on fire here, also here. Things I have cried with, a tangle of glass hidden in fists. An inverted jaguar pacing the retina of sun. The blinking hearts of birds the size of eyes. Bodies like prisms, heat melting even shadow. Our house licking the dark with stars. Split tongue syruped by night vision. So much sweetness. The moths gather over lashes. Now, a suitcase of starlings left on the lawn, so dawn arrives like sugar for ants. Dante's amazing work yielded this minuscule epigraph, which is, "And then hunger overcame sorrow." This is called Bouquet of Hunger. Joy devoured evenings, flute-like, scarlet. Each finger a new apple. Syrup tongue in hyacinth. The petal armored heart. An open grenade. A pomegranate handful. If we could choose any hunger, I want your hand greening, our dream, your red hand, your dream hand greening. Okay, this is a co-creative poem. If you're willing, can you repeat the last two words of each line? So if I were to say, I'm glad you're here, you would say, you're here. Okay, you're brilliant. You've got this. Okay. These last poems I'm dedicating to Jonah. Where the coyotes slip through and see what happens. Where the coyotes slip through and see what happens, repeating like waves. Thin lasso of sibilance, foam on coyotes' lips, sliding over sand as water recedes. Where the coyotes slip through and see what happens again. Words slipping through the fence onto screen. The past slipping through to see what happens. Repetition and variation and the turning of the shell. Time circles its raised finger in the form of a seashell. Where the coyotes slip through and see what happens, remembering. Where the coyotes slip through and see what happens, they scent hair. Dark, and my dog and I were surrounded. Parting the curtains and heading backstage. Ropes, scrim, ladders, the past, putting on makeup, trying to remember its lines. That coyotes slipped through and I didn't see. Where the coyotes slip through and see what happens. Thank you. Some fur stuffed into seashells, touched muffle, touched tamper. Where the path spills over, the coyote trotted. He brought his wet feet to the records office. I'm trying to slip a rope around him like this. The burn of the line through fur, hands around my neck. I slipped words through a hole in the fence like that. Foghorns all night, and I ignored them. How does mist sink? When I fix on it, why does it run? That there is a compendium of information, a directory or guide, this worries me. Rules run through my fingers. Who else knows less? Can I sit by them? Headaching, dehydrated, and worrisome, I walk by a mirror or window and see her. She never rests. I live without an image for months. The cusp of creating something, the soft silk edge of the blanket. On the ocean floor, I am a librarian of seashells. I text the people love when I want to, without worrying if it's my turn. A fast laugh, but a true one. Thank you. I wanted to say that I'm so moved by what you all have created here, this community. It's not nothing, it's really important. And to that end, if anybody wants to buy any of the books that I've brought, I'll donate all the proceeds to Planet Earth Poetry. Thanks for having us.